The Nun 2 is now out on the big screen for you guys to go and check out. The newest and latest horror movie and the newest installment in the Conjuring universe itself. This is the sequel to The Nun. So, The Nun Returns. That's basically what it is. So, I'm going to tell you guys my thoughts on it. Smash your thoughts down in the comment section below. Smash that like button. Click subscribe. And let's talk about The Nun 2 right now. Okay, so The Nun 2. The sequel to that god-awful horror film known as The Nun. That first movie is absolutely woeful. I really disliked that movie. I laughed more than I actually was afraid in that movie. So now we come into The Nun 2. Look, I'm going to be straight and honest. I didn't have much hope for The Nun 2 because of the previous one. And I was kind of like, can they do it? Can they make a Conjuring 2? Can they live up to that? After sitting down and watching The Nun 2, I can safely say this ain't it, man. This just did not work for me on so many levels. Look, when I go into a horror movie, I don't go in expecting like this insane Oppenheimer story. I don't go in there expecting to see this insane Marvel, Star Warsy fantasy action. That's not what I go in there to see when I go see a horror movie. What I want is for when I go and see this horror movie is to be thrilled, to be on the edge of my seat, to be anxious, and to get that horror feeling. You know, it doesn't have to be bloody and gory, but I need to feel like, oh man, this is like, oh, I'm getting the creepy jeepers, if this could happen or anything like that. That's what I'm looking for. And The Nun 2 doesn't deliver on any of those for me. Absolutely zero. Like, the movie talked to me, delivered. It became like a nuanced sort of horror movie that took me on this ride through the story, through the horror elements, through everything. I was on the edge of my seat the whole entire time. Comes to The Nun 2, I might as well have brought a pillow with me. This have to be one of the most boring films in the Conjuring universe. I was flat out, this felt like it was a 3-hour movie. And it's not even a 2-hour movie. This ain't even a 2-hour movie, and it felt like a 3-hour movie. The pacing of this movie is awful. The whole first part of this movie is just one of those things where you're just grinding and grinding to get to the point. Now, I don't mind that. I don't mind a slow build-up, but it's how you use it and how you pace it. And to me, they didn't use it effectively at all. They spent so much time doing what they did in this movie when what they could have done is be more effective in creating these characters that we know from the previous one, because this is set straight after the other one, the other Nun. We obviously know 2 of these characters in here, but you know, exploring these other characters and really showcasing us a bit of character depth to them. In this movie, I did not care about anyone. I was not sitting there going, but I don't want her to die. I don't want him to die. I don't want her to die. I don't want him to die. I don't want any of them to die. I want them to survive. I want them to beat this evil. But you just don't have that. You don't get attached to these characters. I didn't. If you guys did, that's awesome. I'm fantastic. For me, I just couldn't grasp any character to grab onto and be like, I hope they make it through. I'm rooting for them. No, it fell flat on the characters. They're not interesting. None of these characters are interesting. There's a cool, interesting concept with one of the characters and linking it to this particular thing that was never, ever really expanded upon. It's just like this little quick thing and you're like, oh, okay. Oh, there you go. That's it. You know, you could have had that. Maybe linking into a bit more of the horrors of what this demon has done. You know, maybe going into more depth could really make this story more interesting, but it's not. It's also very predictable. Like, you can make a movie that's predictable. That's fine. Like, being predictable isn't always a bad thing. I know there's some movies that are predictable that I absolutely love. That worked. But this one is predictable to the point where it's just kind of like, yeah, you're going to try and jump scare me here. Wow, what do you know? And that's what this movie really relies on, is jump scares. It doesn't have this good tension build. It's so obvious what jump scares come, and so you're already prepared for it. what I love is a movie where it's like build up, build up, build up, and you're like, oh my god, here comes a jump scare. No, oh, okay, okay, okay. And like it's just like this build up, and then a jump scare happens, and you're like, oh, that caught me off guard. Like it's doing that, and there has been some effective horror movies that have done that very effectively with that, with building the tension. Here, there is no tension in this movie at all. I was never sitting there feeling it. And that's why I was like, well, jump scare's coming. Bam, got me. Ah, jump scare. Bam, got me again. Bam, got me again. Like, it just becomes repetitive, and you're like, jump scares aren't everything. Yes, have a few jump scares, that's fine. But you can scare the audience and make them jump in a different sort of way. And that's building that tension. And unfortunately, there's none of that in here. The only bit that I thought was probably the most effective was there's this thing to do with this goat. That scene with the goat when it's first introduced is probably the bit where I was kind of like, okay, we got a bit of horror flair going on here now. No, are we finally hitting the groove? You know, only an hour later, we're finally hitting the groove, but it's only a short stint. And then it's kind of like back to where we were. The story is not interesting at all. It really isn't. There is a mid-credit scene in this movie that you need to stay back for. You need to stay back for, because I 100% guarantee most of you people, if you've been following the Conjuring universe, you're gonna watch the end of this movie and be like, wait, what? You're gonna be ready to flip a table. Because I was ready to flip a table. I was like, no, 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 no. You just not just do that. Because that doesn't work. That does not work at any shape, form, or whatever. It does not work. So I was ready to flip a table. But then there's a little mid-credit scene there, and you're kind of like, okay. So I guess that didn't happen. So now, okay. So that sort of resolves that issue. The ending itself, yeah, it's meh. It's nothing like insane. It's nothing like on the edge of your seat stuff. It's kind of just like, yeah, I kind of predicted that's how it was going to go. You know, cinematography is decent. Sometimes it's a bit, the lighting in here can be a bit dark and you can't really see what's going on sometimes. So that's a bit of an issue. The performances, look, they did well with what they were given. I'm not going to blame any of the actors and actresses because the script's not very strong. The dialogue's not very strong. And I just feel like, I mean, the first Nun is bad. And I'm like, you can't, like, surely you just step it up. Like, this didn't even have to be like Conjuring 2 level. This just had to be decent. Like, we're talking Annabelle level. It just had to be Annabelle. And it had to be like, yo, you know what? They gave me a few thrills, skills, and you know, all that stuff. But no, it didn't deliver on anything for me. Obviously, the Nun looks cool. You know, it does. Some of the goat design thing looked cool as well. But outside of that, I mean, I didn't enjoy this movie at all. I was really bored. It's just, there's not much happens. There's not much story. There's not much character or anything like that. I mean, I wish I took a pillow and just fell asleep. So that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What did you guys think of The Nun 2? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Maybe you got more out of it than I did. And if you did, that is awesome. Because that's what I want to hear. I want to see people get enjoyment out of these movies. Even if it doesn't work for me, I want it to work for you guys. So let me know your thoughts. Smash that like button. Click subscribe. And I'll see you guys next video. Until then, stay safe and peace out.